The Alabama abortion bill has raised some eyebrows even among what are called conservative opinions. And people have questioned, if you believe life begins at conception, then how do you not support the Alabama bill? If that's so, then why do you have to have the heartbeat rule? If you're making distinctions between once an embryo has been fertilized, then you cannot make a distinction between fertilization and a heartbeat. The question is, where is the basis of all of this? So, contrary to the either the beliefs or the ignorance of certain elements of the believing society, Christian practice in large part is based upon Talmudic law. Because even though Christians were what are called religious Sadducees, who did not believe in an oral law, nonetheless they believed in legislative law that was based upon the scripture. And all the great sages of the period of the Second Temple on believed that abortion was permitted for needed cases before 40 days. Why 40 days? Amazingly, 40 days is the approximate time for there to be heart and lung development. The heart begins to beat at approximately 40 days. 6 weeks is 42 days, but it's 40 whole days with a couple of days one way or the other, a couple of hours either way. But that cutoff time for the heartbeat is actually coming from the Talmud. So where do you get first trimester? Well, that is found also in the Talmud, that the woman is considered pregnant mishahukar ubra, when her physical body has changed, that it's obvious to an observer that she's pregnant. And that comes after 3 months, right after the first trimester. So if there is not just an unwanted pregnancy, but a pregnancy that was forced, that was a violation of the woman, then this, even though there is a certain amount of viability, but this is a viability of something that was a violation of the person, of the woman, and is the product of a violation of the woman. And as such, the fetus is not a complete entity. It cannot exist on its own. And since it cannot exist on its own, it's not considered a life. It's only able to be considered a life if it can breathe on its own and feed itself or be fed. So the cutoff date, according to certain rabbis, most notably Rabbi Eliezer Waldenberg, who was an expert in this area, and he permitted abortions to be done on babies that were in the first trimester. And the reason for that is, as I stated, because up until that point, the woman is not considered to be or seen to be as pregnant, and therefore there is no what is called visible violation of standard, since it's not known by others. So here you have the two distinctions. It begins to be viable as a possible life when the heart begins to beat at 40 days. But the woman is not known to be pregnant, and therefore it is not a violation of social standard if an abortion is done in the first trimester, because it's not killing, it is preventing a life. But if that life is a violation of the woman, then leniency is applied. And that's the reason for people who are conservatives to question that kind of law, that rape and incest is not seen as an exception, because it is a violation of the woman. It's not an act that was done consensually. When a person is violated by a parent or by a sibling or by another relative in an incestuous relation, or rape, which is totally involuntary, then in that case, leniency should be required, should be done for the sake of the woman, that she shouldn't be seen as somebody who can be violated. And therefore, consideration should be given for the woman's not only feelings, but her person, that since she was violated, she shouldn't be forced to go to term with something that was forced upon her. But of course, if you've waited more than 3 months and you're visibly pregnant, then that would be known to people, that you've gone into and destroyed a life that's already growing within you, that's visible, and that has social implications that would make it permitted in the eyes of others. And that's the reason for the distinctions. So let's get it straight. Up to 40 days, up to the heartbeat, it's not a potential life yet. It's the beginning of life, but not a life in potential, because it doesn't have what to sustain itself with. Up till the trimester, it's not visible to others, and therefore if it's done to correct a violation of the woman, that can be permitted under certain circumstances. And so that's the reason for the questioning. This is not a question of the sanctity of life, but life itself has to be sanctified. We are not animals, and a woman is not a cow for breeding at the whim of any man. And therefore, that's the reason for the distinction between a pregnancy that comes as a result of rape or incest, or something that was done consensually. And that's the reason for the distinction, and it would be probably in the best interest of promoting life to make that distinction. I applaud those who are championing the cause of life. I will say this: when a society kills their own children, that society can kill other children with impunity. Nazi Germany's genocide did not start with adult people or killing out an entire group of people. Nazi Germany's genocide started when it started killing off its own babies, those whom they felt were unhuman, were less than human, because they were either retarded or they had severe emotional problems. Before Hitler began gassing millions of people, he had them kill out those children whom he felt were unwanted. So the expansion or the popularity or the acceptance of abortion in our society accepts the killing of other people. Oh no, we are for the rights of people, we're the rights for immigrants. No, you're not. You're against the rights of people, you're against rights of people who are elderly to maintain themselves. Obamacare created committees for certain medical procedures to be done for older people. That's what exists in England and other socialist societies. That goes back to Plato's Republic, where people who were just too old and non-productive should go to the forest and let themselves be killed because they become a burden on society. Once you permit abortion, you will permit euthanasia, you will permit all kinds of people to be killed except for that which is popular. You will accept the murder of Jews as a matter of course, because they're bad guys. But when a soldier kills a rock throwing or a Molotov cocktail holding, throwing rioter, that becomes cause celebre for showing you just how inhuman the Jews are in Israel. This is what happens when you permit abortion. The value of life gets skewered. You begin to appreciate and defend the life of those whose lives are indefensible. And you begin to have no compassion for those whom you're supposed to have compassion for. Abortion is the opening for permitting genocide. It's the opening for a screwed up system of who gets to live and who gets to die. And it should be eradicated. Unfortunately, it may be too rooted in our system, in our collective consciousness, for there to be a change. But I applaud those who champion the cause of life. Be successful.